Could remind everybody if they're not speaking to mute their microphones.
Thank you, Corey.
We are live.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the community development portion of the meeting. We have 6 items on the agenda for tonight. The first item is the approval of the March 9th meeting minute.
So moved, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, excuse me.
That's fine.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Mrs. Mitchell, seconded by Mr. Jesse.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, item 2. It's a matter of a rezoning request for 565 South Abbey Road from a business neighborhood district to a business automotive oriented district. This is the Speedway expansion. I do understand we have some folks from the corporation. Do we have Eric Boyd and Paul Coleman on board?
Paul Coleman is on the call.
I'm sorry, say that name one more time.
Paul Coleman.
Paul Coleman. Okay, Paul, would you like to speak?
Eric will be speaking on our behalf with CESO.
Okay, that's fine. Then Eric, go right ahead. Just state your name, address of the corporation for the record.
I don't see him online, Mr. Callahan.
Okay. Is there anybody from the city that wants to start out? Does Daryl want to discuss this matter?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. The matter was heard before a planning commission to rezone this specific parcel of land and the adjacent parcel next to it, the old bank. The properties are conducive for the location for a business automotive. And with the rezoning of this parcel and in correlation with a lot consolidation, this will all become one section of land with one address and one parcel number assigned. It does best fit the zoning classification for which it's located.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from anyone on the committee or anyone on the panel? Yes, Mr. Jesse.
I spoke with a member of Planning Commission today, and he wanted me to let you know and remind everybody else that there's an easement there with the business that's next to it on Broad Street. There's a driveway. If you've been in there, it's actually a one-way in. You come in off of Broad Street, you're not supposed to come out like if you were at the old bank. And that it's important to make sure that that driveway remains, because that's the way in and out of that business next to the current Speedway on Broad Street.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is there anybody, can Mr. Daryl confirm that, please?
Yes, to reiterate, Mr. Jim Taylor, Planning Commission attorney, is in talks with Speedway. That is something they have to hash out with the owner of that. That it does not involve us in regards to the Planning Commission, but from a zoning aspect, if that is part of the deal, that is something personally they have to arrange.
Okay.
And I'll let Amanda speak to that if I'm mistaken.
As far as the easement,
Yes.
right. I mean, that's something that that easement's going to continue to exist, and obviously that I would imagine. I don't want to obviously speak for Speedway or excuse me CESO, but yes, that's something that I would imagine is something that they're going to A, want to work out, and B, I would think would be in their best interest to work out. So, but I would note that Planning Commission did pass this. So, and Ms. Scott, Mr. Farkas, you were both at the meeting, so I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, but I'm guessing those were all issues that were discussed at the meeting.
From a zoning aspect, the concern did not come up as it was not part of the rezoning issue, but one of the proponents did indicate some of that coming to fruition down the road. As far as the logistics, I'm not sure of what transpired after the fact, but it was brought to their attention that that is a concern.
Understood. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know, do we have proponents and other than Mr. Coleman and opponents on the line? I know there was some talk about that earlier today.
I can certainly ask for any. I'm not aware that there are though at this time.
Okay.
But if Mr. Coleman would want to chime in, and then we'll ask to see if there's anybody that is opposed to this.
Tom, Mr. Boyd is on as well.
Oh, Mr. Boyd. Okay, then either one is welcome to chime in and tell us their thoughts.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I'm a little bit late getting in here because I didn't have buttons set exactly right to be able to hear what everybody was saying. So hopefully I'm not readdressing things that other people have already addressed, but Speedway has reached out to the neighbor to that easement. We have asked him to provide the documentation for the easement. Speedway has completed a title search and an Alta survey, and neither one of those was able to provide any sort of easement across the previous bank-owned property with regard to what the neighbor is saying. So we've asked for that documentation. We've yet to see it. So as soon as that documentation is presented to us, then we'll work with him with regard to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions in regards to that or anything about this issue?
And again, just for clarification, this is the issue of the zoning request that's before council right now.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, well, not hearing any more questions or concerns, I will at this point read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a rezoning request for property located at 565 Abbey Road South for the expansion of the speedway that is located at 990 East Broad Street and will be expanded onto the property of 563 Abbey Road. 565, excuse me, 565 Abbey Road. This is an
South. I'm sorry, Chairman, Abbey Road South.
Abbey Road South, okay. Put that there, okay, thank you. This is an ordinance authorizing the rezoning request for said property from Business Neighborhood District BN to Business Automotive Oriented District. This would accommodate the said expansion project. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second by Mr. Jesse.
Question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the matter of a rezoning request for a vacant lot at 8th Place and Middle Avenue from residential to household district R-TH to business general BG. Do we have anybody from Lorraine County Health Dentistry that wants to speak on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mayor Whitfield. I just want to put some context. I believe this is the project for Lorraine County Health and Dentistry to build their new facility on Middle Avenue and 8th Street. And this did pass through Planning Commission, and we did have a meeting and they did present, and we provided the opportunity for proponents and opponents of each of the items.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Is there anybody from the committee or on the panel that has any questions or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I believe a representative from the Lorraine County Health and Dentistry is on to share a little bit more about the project.
Excellent. Just whoever's on, let us know who it is. State your name, address of the corporation for the record.
Yes, hi, Stephanie Wiersma, Lorraine County Health and Dentistry. I'm the Chief Executive Officer. The business address is 1205 Broadway in Lorraine, Ohio, 44052. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I also have on the attending the meeting virtually our architect, Christine Raymond, if that might be of help to the committee. So Lorraine County Health and Dentistry intends to build a new community health center located on the properties that we've purchased, of which this one, we're requesting the rezoning to commercial. We will be relocating from our 412 East River Street address in Elyria to the new and expanded health center site on Middle Avenue. We will be able to offer at that location more medical services, and we will be able to add dental services, which is a tremendous need in Elyria. So our organization is a nonprofit community health center. We provide primary medical, dental, eye care, and behavioral health care to the most vulnerable in our communities, those that might not otherwise have access to primary care. And that includes the low income, uninsured, underinsured, and those with Medicaid and Medicare.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Are there any questions for Stephanie from anyone on the panel?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Marcus. Just
Yes,
want to before moving the motion, just wanted to say that we're excited that this project has moved forward. Not only does it make a difference in Middle Avenue and that corridor as we work to transform the neighborhood, but we know the work that Lorraine County Health Dentistry has done, not only in Wilkesville, in terms of providing their services. So we know that they're going to make a big difference here in our ward and here in the city. So I'm excited for this project to move forward.
I am as well, Mr. Madison, and I appreciate those comments. And it will provide a very good public good for that area. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? Not hearing any, I will read the report. We have considered the matter of rezoning request for vacant property located at 8th Street and 8th Place to allow for a parking lot for the healthcare clinic that will be constructed. This is an ordinance authorizing the rezoning request for said property from a T-HTH residential 2 household district to a BG business general district. Could I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Marcus Madison. I move to make the motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Mr. Madison, seconded by Mr. Jesse. Can I get a question on the motion?
Question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Good deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody, item number 4. This is the matter of a rezoning request for 905 East Broad Street from Professional Office District, POD, to Business General District, BG, for the development of a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not sure. Daryl, would you like to chime in first?
Sure. The proponent is requesting to rezone multiple parcels adjacent to the main primary address from professional office district to a business general to accommodate the said Dunkin' Donuts. The site was evaluated from a zoning aspect, and I did take into consideration all the adjacent parcels, considerably the residential. Since the professional office district was originally geared to prevent any kind of future businesses going there, it was sort of reserved for professional office only. The effects of any future establishment must be taken into consideration, and the adverse effects of parking, drive-throughs, traffic, etc. The Planning Commission panel has considered it and did approve the motion to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions for Daryl? Is there a representative here from the corporation?
Yes, there is. It Paul Rubenstein?
Paul Rubenstein. Okay, Paul, go right ahead, please. Just state the address of the corporation for the record and your name.
Sure, it's Paul Rubenstein, and I'm with Danop Limited, and we do Dunkin', Taco Bell, and we have a branded gas and convenience brand called Mickey Mart. And we're at 3619 State Route 113 East in Milan, Ohio.
Okay. And any comments you have in regards to this particular project in Elyria?
Only that the project's at 905 East Broad Street. It is surrounded by business general, which is what we are asking the parcels to be rezoned to. There are, as was stated in the Planning Commission meeting, additional POD districts within the city. Few of the Planning Commission members just stated, it looks like this is an extension of an existing business general area. When you look at the corner, the four corners, on the northwest, you have Speedway. The northeast is McDonald's. Southeast is a shopping center with a Pizza Hut and some small shop space within the shopping center. And then on the southwest, which is where we would like to develop, you have the Jimmy John's, and then you have that office building. The plan is, and I'm not sure if you all get to see the renderings and the site plans.
Yes, I believe most people on the committee have seen those.
Okay, so what we're proposing is, the latest and greatest Dunkin' with all of the technology that will help with the mobile orders through the drive-through, which who would ever thunk that, in today's day and age, our dining rooms would be closed completely, and how much emphasis would be brought to the drive-through. But the purpose of the double drive-through lane is, one is for mobile ordering, and then the other is to do the traditional ordering through the drive-through, and then that helps facilitate the movements on and off the site. So it's the latest and greatest Dunkin'. When you look at the site plan, we have, so one of the neighbors had spoken at the Planning Commission meeting, and she was a little concerned about the speaker being in her, or the drive-through being able to see the drive-through outside of her
Window.
living room window.
Right.
So, we have a 10-foot building setback and then an additional 5-foot parking buffer. So we have to stay a minimum 15 feet off of that property line. And when you look at where the drive-through is being located, we're an additional 21 feet. So that's 31 plus 36 feet away. And plus the speaker isn't facing her window. It's actually facing towards the southwest. And then we had also talked about, what other buffering can we put in there? So we would look at that. We did put together a general landscaping plan that shows some planting in that 5-foot parking buffer.
Mhm.
But that's certainly something that we can tighten up to make it to make it more tight, or to make it tighter. So we would do something. We could look at that. We've done some truck turning movements on this site plan, and we have no intention of bringing trucks, delivery trucks on Longson. I understand that there's some potholes and some flooding that happens on Longson. So our trucks would be utilizing the existing curb cuts on the East Broad. And then in addition to that, we are ensuring that we contain our own stormwater. So everything with all the stormwater would be contained on the site, and we would not be adding to any issue on Longson Avenue. And I could take questions if anybody has them at this point.
Okay, well, we appreciate what you've told us so far. I have one question to start with. What are the hours of operation once you open?
Yeah, so the hours are 5 a.m. and then we can go until 11, but it's really dependent on the customers. So if we feel that it's better to shut down at 10, we'll shut down at 10. But right now, our hours of operation that we're planning are 5 to 11.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone on the committee that has any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Mitchell.
thank you. Through you. I understand, sir, that you said, Mr. Rubenstein, you said the speaker is not facing her living room,
Right.
but at 5 o'clock in the morning, that can get pretty loud. And if she has to listen to that all day, I totally understand her concerns. So what can be done to address, I understand the setback and all of that, but we really don't want this resident to have to hear people ordering coffee at 5 in the morning.
Right.
So how can that be addressed?
So I'm looking into what the decibel level is of the speaker, because we're sensitive to that. And the direction of that speaker absolutely matters when it comes to how loud the voice is coming out of the speaker. So the fact that it is pointed away from her residence is that is absolutely a factor in mitigating the sound and the space, the distance that where it is away, where it's placed away from her property. So that distance was 30 some odd feet, and that was just to the property line. So I didn't include any dimensions or measurements across Longson to her front window or to her living room window. So, and then also we have some landscaping that we're planning within the 5-foot parking buffer.
Okay.
So all of that, when you look at the entire cumulative, not nature, but the cumulative measures, I believe that she will not be affected by any sound. But the one thing I need to confirm is the decibel readings for that particular speaker. And I have not been able to obtain that yet.
And Mr. Chairman, again through you, and if the resident says, hey, I can hear this, this is driving me crazy, you all will make it right with her, will you not?
Yeah, we want to make sure that everyone's happy. I mean, she's a potential customer. And the reason we're locating there is the density of population. And so one bad situation snowballs, and the next thing you know, it affects the business. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for this gentleman?
Mr.
I have some
Chairman,
concerns.
Okay. Somebody just mention a name and I'll give you a pass.
Kenny Oswald.
Kenny Oswald, go right ahead, sir.
Okay, just a few things. One is I like to see vegetation, but Broad Street I've lived on, you have a couple of trees that are going to be planted right out front.
Yes.
And I think that might need to be addressed so that we don't get something that's so tall that people can't pull out and see the traffic coming. So that would be one of my issues just to look into as far as what you're going to plant there. The other concern is that, yes, you did do two lanes now for ordering, which is going to give you approximately 17 cars, and you've got a lot of space there. I'm hoping that between Duncan and the gas station and the new proposed Broad Street expansion that they're checking into right now could possibly incorporate 4 lanes in that section, because turning in and out of Speedway and turning in and out of Duncan on Broad Street right close to Abbey is going to be tight. So I think with the city, with Duncan, with Speedway, if we all work together, it could be a good area, not too congested, but there, you guys do get a lot of traffic. And I think that that's going to be a problem if we don't. And I believe we were talking, there is a way that we can grab some of the right of way to create possibly 4 lanes. So just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oswald. Was there another question?
Callahan, can I just interject and address some of those points? So with respect to the trees, I absolutely agree. If you look at the renderings, the building, we really want to be best on block. So we don't want anything so tall it's actually going to block the building. And from a more practical standpoint, the line of sight coming in and out of the site. So I totally agree with you. And then with respect to the Broad Street expansion, so that was something that I spoke with after the Planning Commission call. Our engineer and we spoke about that. And so the plan is to reach out to the department that's facilitating that. And then we would look to incorporate whatever that plan is into our plan, because I mean, if you look at our site plan with that curb cut that's closest to the intersection, if there is in fact 3 or 4 lanes, we may not want that curb cut. And I'm sure this is being video recorded, so I can never deny it because it's on videotape, but it would almost make sense not to have that if that's the case. So, you know, we want to be practical about how we approach this, so we're not adding to the problem and creating a bigger headache. So it needs to, and if it doesn't flow right, it's not going to customers aren't going to be able to flow on and off of our site anyway. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Daryl Farkas. This, when it was heard before Planning Commission, we did run this by John Schneider, city engineer. And as this is in a preliminary phase, some of the things were discussed, but we haven't received anything for sure as far as plan submittal, as we're not there yet. Once we get through the rezoning process, that's where we're at today. We can then open up the topics for design review discussion governing trees, line of sight, egress for access ways and aprons, etc. So at this point, it is on the radar, but once we get something in paper, we'll move to the next phase.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions out there?
Mr. Chairman, this is Marcus.
Yes, Marcus, go right ahead.
Thank you. My question is around the lighting of the facility itself. Can you speak to that? Just as it relates to, you know, at night, what will that impact be for the residents and your business? Is the parking lot, you know, going to be lighted up, you know, all of those different components as part of the project?
yeah, it will be lit. We have zero foot candles around the property line. So if there's any spillover, we put up the light shields to make sure that all of the light is contained within the site. And I'm sure Mr. Farkas will attest, whenever we get to that land development phase, we'll have a plan that shows the foot candles, the average foot candles, the photometric. We'll present that photometric along with the rest of our plan submittal documents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to also ask at this time, are there any opponents to this project online listening to the meeting at this point? Are there any opponents?
Gail McKee.
Is there a Gail McKee? Okay, I guess she inquired at the clerk.
Excuse me, Gail just got brought in.
Okay. Is Gail McKee, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I thought I was locked out there. Is there a Gail McKee that you would like to make some comments in regards to this project? Well, maybe she's having a little trouble. Are there any other questions in the meantime from anyone on the committee or anybody on the panel?
Hello.
Hello, is this Gail?
Yes.
Hi, Gail. Tom Callahan, Elyria City Council. Do me a favor, just state your name and address for the record, and then
My
anything.
name is, Gail McGee. I
Okay.
live at 311 Longson Avenue. My husband Tim is here also. I'm the lady that Mr. Rubenstein talked about that lives across the street that's going to see the drive-through through her living room window. I hear what he's saying about the sound barriers and all that. One thing I will mention, we can actually hear Speedway's speaker system when they're talking to people at the gas stations from our house, and I'm hard of hearing. So I hope this is true. That's all I'm saying. I'm getting to the impression that there's going to be a Dunkin' Donuts built. I hope there's no problems. My other question is, when this Dunkin' Donuts is built, this road is not meant to be for construction equipment. What's going to happen then? It's Chuck Hole City right now. You know, I'm not for it. The doctor's office was nice. It was quiet. There was traffic. I mean, we have Jimmy John's, the back exit way, traffic going down. They've probably made more Chuck holes than anything in that street. And there's nothing that we can do about it, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you chiming in. Does anybody have any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Judy, Mrs. Keys. I'm just wondering if Dunkin' Donuts would entertain the idea of doing some repairs to Longson Avenue after you're through with your construction.
So it sounds like the street or Longson Avenue has some existing potholes and is in need of repairs. We will not be driving any of our trucks, construction or otherwise, on to Longson.
Okay.
All right.
That was my concern, was whether or not you were going to have any construction vehicles on Longson. So,
no.
Okay.
Because Longson is an asphalt street. It's not concrete like a lot of the other streets around here. And I mean, I know concrete streets get Chuck holes, but you know, it seems like it's worse. I don't know. So.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My name is Tim Kiefer, and I own the duplex on the corner of Broad and Longson, 875, 877. And that road, or that duplex, has been in the family for 30 years, and that road has been neglected forever. And to get more traffic with the drive-through of Dunkin' Donuts, that road really needs to have storm sewers put in and curbs and treated like the rest of the streets in Elyria. I have a duplex where there's 5 little kids living. And you know, I don't have anything against growth for the city. I mean, I think it's great that you're getting the Dunkin' Donuts, but I think that something needs to be done with that road. I mean, it's notoriously, I called a couple months ago to get a giant crater filled out there, and they put cold patch in and it's gone already. And I thought we'd be notified when you let Jimmy John's put that little extension, but I don't ever recall getting, you know, maybe it's because I wasn't an adjoining property owner, but you know, people cut through there to cut the traffic light off, and I mean, it's just, I would just like to see something done with Longson. I don't have a thing against the Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate your comments, sir.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments or concerns? Anybody on the panel have any questions for anyone? How does the committee feel at this point in regards to this project? Roughly, Mrs. Mitchell, what are your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like they're gonna try very hard to be good neighbors, and that's what I hope. So based on what Mr. Rubenstein has said, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Does anybody else from the committee want to chime in, or I can just go ahead and read the committee report?
Think of anything else?
Jack Sarah here.
Yes, Jack, Sarah, go right ahead.
The one little bit of concern I have is this is the second time in recent history that we've been asked to rezone a parcel without knowing for sure what it was going to look like when it was done. And if it's my understanding, once this rezoning is done, our hands are tied and we have to accept basically what is put in there.
Amanda, would you like to chime in on that, please?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Sarah, I guess I don't understand what you mean. You're talking about the physical appearance of the building?
Not so much the physical appearance, but like to the traffic end of it. We have the Circle K that we had been discussing in the past at Hilliard. And it was brought up then that once we rezone that property, it is rezoned. And say Dunkin' Donuts decides not to go in there, it's still going to be available for any type of business to move in then.
That's true.
Are there any other thoughts and concerns in regards to this topic?
So I just got bumped out. Now I'm back in. So were you looking for me? I apologize.
Oh, is this Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Amanda. Jack, could you please repeat what you said so the law director could hear what your concern was?
Sure. So this is the second time in recent history that we've been faced with a rezoning request without having an actual site plan as far as the traffic and stuff like that goes. And if I remember correctly, when it was brought up about the Circle K, once we rezone that parcel and that particular project goes away, they decide not to do it, it's still going to remain for any other business to move in then.
Well, I would also, I mean, first off, I mean, Mr. Farkas is our zoning guru, if you will, but I mean, the general answer is the zoning status, yes, will stand there. I mean, that doesn't mean anything's up for grabs, but yes, if you do rezone it in this situation from professional office district to business general, then yes, it will remain business general. You're not just rezoning for this particular project. Mr. Farkas, am I on
Yes,
the mark
if
there?
I may continue with that, once it's rezoned once I rezone, it's rezoned to business general, it would permit anything that is a principally permitted use in a business general district. And I'll read just a brief snippet of my memo to the Planning Commission so the council here understands what exactly that means. I'll read it verbatim. Business general district requirements of which can be found in the Elyria Codified Ordinance, section 1160. The purpose of a business general district is to accommodate and encourage those businesses establishment offering a multitude of principally permitted uses, i.e. allied health facilities, automotive sales, child care facilities, club, commercial recreation, commercial businesses, dental medical clinics, drive-in facilities, educational institutions, fast food government buildings, hospitals, restaurants, shopping goods, and household services, etc. So yes, if this business were to go defunct, that property would remain business general, and any one of those businesses could legitimately go there, contingent they meet the zoning setback requirements and coverage, establish a business there.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else from anyone on the committee?
Tom, this is Jim Taylor. Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely, Mr. Taylor, go right ahead.
So I'm the council officer for Planning Commission, and Daryl can quote me, but a lot of those office buildings for the doctors were put in along Broad Street 20 to 30 years ago as a way to accomplish having the doctors have facilities near the hospital. Unfortunately, those type of facilities are less and less because the hospitals are buying the medical practices, bringing them closer. So to find a doctor to move into these various buildings, I think is going to be a little more difficult because UH owns their own doctor groups. The clinic has their own doctor groups. So what was good 30, 40 years ago for Dr. Moore, Dr. Schaefer, and those folks who put their offices there, they were in residential neighborhoods. So the lightest zoning was this professional use. Now that's changed, and that was taken into consideration by the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Are there any other questions or concerns from anyone on the committee or anyone on the panel? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a rezoning request for property located at 905 East Broad Street for the purpose of a development of a Dunkin' Donut. This is an ordinance authorizing the rezoning request for said property from a professional office district to a business general district, which will accommodate the development of the said business. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made. Motion made by Marcus Madison, second by
Jack Sarah.
Jack Sarah. Motion made by, okay, second by Jack Sarah. Can I get a question on the motion?
Call for the question.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the matter of a request for a new liquor license for Family Dollar Stores of Ohio. This is at 1057 East Broad Street. This would be a just carry out, strictly just carry out. The clerk's office here at City Hall has not received any negative news from the Elyria Police Department, and that is about all I know at this time.
Mr. Chairman, through you, can someone tell me exactly where this is located, please? 1057 East Broad. Is that by Wolfie's, or am I in the wrong location?
No, I believe you're in the right location, Wolfie's.
So there's already a liquor store there. Why do they need liquor? Just saying.
Different business, right? Well, the demand is high.
Sorry?
Okay. Amanda, did you want to chime in?
No, I thought you were calling me.
No. You're good. You're good to go. Just for the record, it's a permit class C1 and C2.
I did just Google this, and yes, that is exactly the strip where it is.
Excellent. All right.
Is Chief Whiteley still on the line?
Yes.
Did you have anything? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you wanted to add to this?
My first question off the top of my head, I can't tell you what a C1 and C2 license is. You know what that is?
Carry out only.
Do you have it, Mr. Taylor? Taylor, you have it?
C1, C2s are carry out beer and wine sales.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have no objections to that.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions from anyone on the committee? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Chair, if I may, please. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I don't think the city should request a hearing, but I just don't see why. The liquor store is literally right next door to them. That makes no sense to me. I mean, far be it from me to say what they can sell and can't sell, but it makes no sense. Am I the only one?
Well, I see your point, obviously, but capitalism, it's a one business and another business. I mean, we can take a look at it like that. That's basically what it is. You know, I guess that's all I can say. Unless somebody
Mr.
else.
Chairman,
Yes.
there may be an hours restriction. The liquor store may not be open the same hours as them. And people may want to take an order for a carry out just for the ease, order what they want to drink with it and take it all at one instead of making 2 stops. Those are just 2 possibilities.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, can I
Yes.
say something?
Yes, Mrs. Davis.
And doesn't Speedway sell carry out right across the street? Don't they have carry out beer and wine, if I'm not mistaken?
I would, I don't go there. I don't know. I don't buy my beer and wine from there.
Okay.
I'm assuming they do, seeing it's just another business. I
And
think
then
most-
my concern too is the laundromat where children is there a lot right there. I know the liquor store is there and then you're gonna add a carry out of beer and wine with the traffic just coming in there for that. And then you got beer and wine right across the street at Speedway. I don't know, but that's the committee.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, through you,
Yeah.
unfortunately, our choices are
Yeah.
that we request a hearing
Right.
or we don't request a hearing.
Correct.
We can't deny them. Only the Liquor Control Board can do that. And I agree with, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I don't even see the purpose of it. But like you said, capitalism's alive and well.
Yeah, right. It's you not.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Collette.
I think it's the convenience of going in and getting your batteries, your chips, a 6-pack of beer, and a roll of toilet paper. And it gives that convenience. That's why they want that.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I'll read the report. Okay, hearing none, my screen just went blank. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We have considered the matter of a request for a new liquor license submitted by Family Dollar Stores of Ohio. This is store 26358, located at 1057 East Broad Street, permit class C1 and C2. Could anybody give me a motion from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I'll recommend the city of Elyria does not request a hearing.
Second.
Okay. The motion has been made by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mr. Madison.
Call for the question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
1 nay. Motion carried. Okay, one more item on the agenda for the community development, and that is the matter of accepting an annexation of 38.665 acres of land from Carlisle Township. This was referred by Lorraine County Commissioners. Amanda, are you gonna, do you want to chime in on this, or is Eric Bruning gonna chime in on this?
No, I'll speak on it, Mr. Chairman. This is an annexation. The commissioners okayed this. It is a project that for development adjacent to Colonial Oaks residential, and they want to be, in short, a part of Elyria. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if I know that I believe the mayor may have some information about this. I don't know if he's ready, wants to share it or not, but that's in short. I will be happy to answer any questions, but bear with me with any answers I may have. Obviously, this will add to our tax base, and it will be some construction. These look like they'll be single-family homes. I can't tell you off the top of my head how many, but it will be a neighborhood. So.
Okay, thank you to the law director. You know, I'm noticing the committee report from January 13th that the acreage was changed just slightly. Did you see that in the report, Mrs.
Yes.
Jerry? Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, for the record, at that point, it was 38.52 acres, and now it is 38.65 acres.
Yes, I didn't mean to cut you off. There was a survey pending, so we had an estimation, but not an exact, so.
Understood, understood. Okay. Are there any questions from anyone on the panel?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Stewart.
in regard to the acreage over there, is that, are the utilities already there on this property or have access to that? Because I believe it accesses Indian Hollow Road as well. You know that?
I believe that there are utilities in the vicinity. I don't believe that the land, the parcels themselves are already sewered and whatnot, but I believe that they are ready and accessible.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, good question. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
Yes.
Through
you, Mr. Chair. Will this be part of Midview Schools, or will these children from this area go to Elyria City Schools?
My understanding is it's Midview.
It is, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of an annexation agreement with Carlisle Township. This is an ordinance to authorize the said agreement of 38.665 acres of property on Middle Avenue, south end adjacent to the Colonial Oaks Mobile Home Park. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Mr. Madison and seconded by Mr. Sarah.
Question.
For the question. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to go into the joint meeting with finance. So at this particular time, I'd like to ask Mr. Stewart to please call finance.
I'll call finance to order.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Okay, we have 4 items on the agenda tonight. The first item is the matter of the March 9th joint meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mrs. Mitchell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Jesse.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carried. That's the easy one. I just misplaced my agenda real quick for this joint meeting. Thank you. Okay. All right. Sorry for the delay. This matter is a public hearing, for the substantial amendment of the Community Block Grant 2020 Annual Action Plan Amendment. This matter is a public hearing. I'm getting echoing. Is everybody hearing me clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so where was I here? The matter of public hearing, a substantial amendment to the Community Block Grant 2020 Annual Action Plan Amendment, the COVID-19 response. Okay, notice of a public hearing. A virtual public hearing will be held on Monday, April 22nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. at the Elyria City Council Chambers, 131 Court Street, Elyria, 44035, to obtain the views of citizens concerning the approval of an amendment to the City of Elyria's Community Development Block Grant Program for year 2021. Annual Action Plan and the 2020 through 2024 Consolidated Plan.
Oh my God.
Are there any proponents?
Oh my God.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act was passed by Congress. This ultimately provided additional CDBG funding specific to COVID response. As a result, the city of Elyria is set to receive $439,110 in CDBG CV funding. This bill did eliminate the 15% public service cap that CDBG typically has. It also removed the in-person public hearing requirements, and it also allows for communities to reduce the 30-day public comment period down to a 5-day public comment period. This is going to require an amendment to the 2020 Annual Action Plan, as well as to our 5-year consolidated plan. That being said, the Federal Register has not been made available with all the final rulings on the use of these funds to date, but HUD is strongly encouraging communities to get moving on amending their plans so they can get the money out into the communities. So the administration and community development, we did request comments on a proposed budget that we are going to present to you tonight for your comment. This was made available on April 22nd on the city's website. To date, we have not received any comments. So the first part of this, the first amendment I'd like to go over is the budget line items. So we can take up to 20% right off the bat for administration of these funds. So we set that at $87,822. The second activity that we're proposing is an economic development activity that would provide direct financial assistance to for-profits. This would provide short-term working capital assistance to small businesses to enable the retention of jobs held by LMI persons. And it also could provide technical assistance, grants, loans, and other financial assistance to establish, stabilize, and expand micro enterprises that provide medical, food, and other services. Another activity that we're proposing is employment training in the amount of $50,000, and this would provide assistance to increase self-sufficiency, including literacy, independent living skills, and job training. We're also proposing to put $100,000 into emergency payments. This would be in the form of one-time or short-term, meaning less than 3 months of emergency payments on behalf of individuals or families, generally for the purposes of preventing homelessness. So this could include, for example, utility assistance. There's $50,000 in the budget for youth services. These services would be for public service activities that would benefit children in the community. Lastly, we also had a line item for food banks in the amount of $51,288. And this could cover costs associated with the operation of food banks, community kitchens, and food pantries. The second part of this amendment is pursuant to HUD regulations. We have to amend our 5-year plan to include the reduction of the 30-day public comment period down to a 5-day public comment period, and also to allow for virtual public hearings in response to this relief funding. I'd like to turn it over to the mayor because he has some comments that he'd like to make regarding this budget.
Thank you, Ashley, and this is through you, Chair. As Ashley alluded to, we really looked at, in terms of responding to COVID, some of the needs that we're hearing as we hear residents calling us, or we're out, and about and having chats and emails, et cetera, with folks. These were some of the kind of things that bubbled up. The number one thing that we saw bubbling up was, of course, our small businesses and the need to support our small businesses. So these resources will free us up to be able to help our small businesses not only take advantage and provide technical assistance, to take advantage of programs like the PPP program and other federal assistance, but it also gives us the opportunity to provide direct assistance to those businesses. The second one around employment training, Though we're in a tough spot in the economy, there are some companies right now that are hiring and are looking for people. And then we have people looking for work right now as well. So we wanted to make sure we have resources set aside to help folks with that employment and helping folks find employment. The next piece was around that emergency assistance. We've gotten a lot of calls with folks who are just concerned about not being able to afford their utility bills. Though we're suspending the disconnection of them, there's still a concern about the ability to pay. So we thought it'd be important to have those resources, our people in these tough times, to have some emergency relief access for residents here in the city. And then again, around youth services, we hosted a call today. Thank you, Councilman Madison, for helping put that together. We hosted a call with about 12 other nonprofit organizations that serve youth and talk with them about their plans for not only the summer, but in the fall. And they're all trying to adapt and find ways to keep our youth engaged, in particular our teenagers, during this time when we're not able to gather. They've come up with some really creative ways to continue to serve youth. And the last piece around food banks, I'm sure you've all seen the visuals of the hundreds of cars lining up for food here in the city of Elyria, whether it's been at Ely Stadium or even some of the food delivery that the We Care initiative is doing. So we thought it was important to also have some resources set aside and go towards that as well. So it kind of gives a recap of some of the priorities that we established.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wants to chime in on this topic at the moment?
Yeah, I can just question. This was when we put together and we allocate it with the money we're going to receive. Do these all fit in the guidelines that come with the money, I'm assuming?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to answer that. Yes, so ultimately this money is going to become a part of our 2020 annual CDBG allocation. So it's going to be submitted as one full plan. And these different activities are eligible activities. The difference with this money is they have to be directly related to COVID response. So by providing some form of financial assistance to businesses, it still is going to have some regulations and requirements that HUD is going to put on this money. They have not officially determined through the Federal Register what all of those requirements are today, but we will make sure that we are in compliance with all HUD regulations.
Also, when would we expect this money to be received?
If council committee takes action on this tonight, it will go to full council next week, and we would be able to get our plan submitted to HUD next week, and we would be able to start spending at that point.
So we would receive the funding shortly thereafter?
Yes, we would be able to start expending it. So it would be set up how it is with our other CDBG funding, where the city would expend the money and then ask for reimbursement through HUD.
Okay, I think it's great. Looks like a good list you put together as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mrs. Davis.
Yes, and I'm asking a question for Ashley. With the 100,000 for to use for utility payment, since the city has suspended, do you have a cap? So say that a resident owed $400 on their water bill. Do you have a cap, or do they have an application that they have to apply for to help pay for that rearage of utilities that's behind that would be reimbursed back to the city for that rearage?
So how we have done utility assistance in the past, we're looking at doing it in the same way, where we would work with the nonprofit who would screen the applicants. We would have to make sure that they would meet the LMI requirements, and that funding, it would be for a one-time payment to prevent water shutoff, or but it couldn't extend more than 3 months. So if their water bill is 6 months behind, we could only do for the 3-month period.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Madison.
I just wanted to, I guess, add to the conversation as well in support of Mr. Baird's comments as well as Mrs. Davis's. I think this is great news that we were able to receive these funds and that we will be able to use them as a direct result of COVID-19. I think the administration put together a good list of things here that will be able to help people from a big cross-section of the entire city of Elyria. So I'm happy to see this list, happy to support it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any more proponents? Are there any more proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Hearing none, I declare that this public hearing has been held. I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of an amendment to the Community Block Grant 2020 Action Plan. This is the consolidated 2020 plan and policy manual. This would be an ordinance authorizing the Community Block Grant COVID Response Action Plan amendment and the amendment to the said plan and the said manual. Could I get a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay, we got to do community development first. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's okay.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, a motion made by Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second by Mr. Jesse.
Call for the question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried from community development.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Ms. Davis,
Second.
second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, the next item on the agenda for this committee is the matter of the recommendation made by the Elyria Economic Development Committee. The meeting was held on April 22nd. Ashley Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Mona. I'm going to speak on behalf of Ashley here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So this is our second year of reviewing these agreements. Every year, the Elyria Economic Development Committee is tasked with reviewing the city's income tax agreements. So that is what we did this year. I believe you should have all gotten the committee report with the findings. Everybody was in compliance with their agreements. There were a couple that will not be getting a reimbursement this year just due to the way their agreements are structured. They just haven't started yet. But there were a couple of amendments a few amendments that need to be made, just kind of some housekeeping things to include the RETA Form 17 for some of them, and also to establish a baseline employment number so we can better calculate whether or not that they had met those employment numbers every year. So other than that, I didn't know if you want me to go through each of these individually that were on the report, or if there was any questions that you had regarding what the committee found.
Okay, I guess at this point, if everybody's read their report, or would we've done our homework, or does anybody would like her to go over everything? Okay, it appears everybody's done their homework. That's a good thing. Okay. Are there any questions from either committee?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just, through you, Mona, I don't know, because I don't always have everything in front of me, but just, I'm gonna operate under the assumption that this goes through. In order for the resolution, can you just get a clean copy of the committee's report and recommendations so we can use that as an Exhibit A?
Sure, absolutely.
Just get that to the clerk's office, to Colleen or to Carol. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Good,
Thank
good,
you.
okay. All right, are there any other questions or comments or concerns? Hearing none, I will read the committee report and then ask for a motion from community development. We have considered the matter of the review and the approval of recommendations of the Elyria Economic Development Committee. This is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the recommendations of the Elyria Development Committee from the meeting that was held on April 20th, 2020. This is per the said attached list and recommendations. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mr. Madison,
Second.
second by Mr. Jesse.
Question?
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried from community development.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, there's one more item for the joint meeting here, and that is the matter of amending the CRA agreement with the cottages at Riverview. Do I have Mona or do I have Ashley?
Mona.
Mona.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, the city has a CRA agreement, with cottages at Riverview. And this is just to amend it once more to include the correct parcel numbers for the agreement. The auditor had changed the parcel numbers. Essentially, they had retired some of the parcel numbers, other ones were consolidated. So it's the same land, it's just a different parcel number that the Lorraine County Auditor has assigned this land to. So essentially, we're just going to amend the agreement so that the parcel number is right in it.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of amending the CRA agreement with the cottages at Riverview. This is an ordinance authorizing a third amendment to the CRA agreement with the cottages at Riverview. Can I get a motion from community development?
So moved.
Okay, motion has been made by Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second by Mr. Madison.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried from community development.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, at this time, seeing no further business for the Community Development Committee, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes,
could I interrupt you for just a minute?
absolutely.
We have a caller on. I see her name down at the bottom. It's not on the agenda tonight. She is a representative from Spark Theater, which is funded through CBDG funds. And the question was posed to me about the potential availability or unavailability of the rec centers where they do their programming. And because she's on the phone, do we want to bring her on and have her ask that question?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if the law director, if this is okay under the
I
condition.
don't have an issue, but I think that would probably be better directed to, I don't want to put, again, anybody on the spot, but I think it would be better directed to the safety service director or administration as far as whether or not buildings are going to be available or not. But I mean, I don't have any legal issue with it.
Well, how about this? What if I give them a call and then put them in touch with the safety service director and they can have that conversation?
I mean, I think Derek's on the meeting if he won't, I don't want to.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation would be for them to have that conversation with the Safety Service Department, because I'm sure we all have other questions as well as it relates to the Parks and Recs. So it might be better for them just to work directly with the safety service department until we're all able to be brought up to speed on what's going on in that department as a whole.
And I'll make sure that there's connection there with telephone numbers and names.
That sounds good. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Appreciate that. Now, seeing no further business for community development, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion has been made by Mr. Sarah and seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Good night.